So before we get into this one, we need a little context. Sonic Advance was released in 2001 as one of the first two Sonic the Hedgehog games to be released on a Nintendo platform, since Sega ceased first-party console manufacturing in the wake of the Dreamcast. Developed by Dimps in collaboration with Sonic Team, the game was a huge success, spawning 2 sequels and serving as the basis for a long series of Sonic the Hedgehog titles that Dimps would lead development on. Being released on the Game Boy Advance allowed the game to take advantage of the 32-bit hardware to put more colours on screen and add a lot of character and charm to the animations, making for some of the most expressive and detailed pixel art seen in a Sonic game. Fast forward to 2003 and mobile phone giant Nokia are about to launch the N-Gage, a mobile phone handheld games console hybrid that was extremely ahead of the curve and also featured a similar 32-bit architecture. Sega were not shy of throwing their hat in the ring when it came to new hardware, developing Sonic Pocket Adventure for the Neo Geo Pocket Color and licensing various Sega titles for the Tiger Gamecom, so it made sense that they would also try their luck with the N-Gage. In the first year alone, Sega would release Virtua Tennis, Super Monkey Ball, Sega Rally, Puyo Pop and the subject of today's video, Sonic. So what is Sonic? Well, it's a port of Sonic Advance, of course. Thanks to the similarity between the GBA and the N-Gage, the game comes to the device with very little in the way of differences. The sound is a little weaker and has to rely on bit crush sampling to replicate the sound of the GBA version, but it's perfectly acceptable. There's also a slight hit to the frame rate as well, with the game now playing at 30 FPS instead of 60, but once again this is a minor issue and the game is still responsive and entirely playable. The major difference is one of aspect ratio. The original Sonic Advance runs in a 240x160 aspect ratio, but the N-Gage has a vertically orientated screen that runs at 176x208, making a 1-for-1 port impossible. What Sonic offers is a toggle to change the game from a bordered view that squeezes the original aspect ratio down and allows players to see the game as intended but with an obvious loss of fidelity and a lot of shimmering. However, with the press of a button you can restore the original art to its correct resolution at the expense of having the viewing area cropped at the sides. Some have complained that this makes the game considerably more challenging because you can't anticipate what is coming towards you, but honestly it's not nearly as bad as people have made it out to be. Sonic Advance already suffered from a smaller viewing window than a Mega Drive game anyway, which actually makes exploration and finding the special stage springs pretty challenging as it is. If anything, the vertical screen resolution only makes the bosses more difficult, as additional scrolling is now needed to see everything. Regardless, I still think Sonic is an impressive piece of software for a 2003 release on a mobile phone. Java was still the predominant system for mobile games at this point, and what you could do with it was extremely limited, especially without a device like the N-Gage which has a dedicated D-pad. The iOS App Store was still a long way off, first releasing in 2008, and to have an experience of this quality on a mobile phone in 2003 was honestly astounding. The N-Gage might not have found an audience back then, but experiencing it with the power of hindsight is honestly quite fascinating. Also, check out the cases for N-Gage games. They come in lovely clamshells with full colour instruction manuals and additional space for up to 5 additional games, becoming little carry cases in their own right. Extremely cool stuff that I'd like to see happen more often nowadays for box game releases.